I gave this one like no heads up, and I'm fine with that. Welcome, guys. Gonna record a mids watch again live. We're gonna get the second one out date. Not gonna have time for a third. If you're watching this after the fact, it's most likely on Patreon. Thanks for joining. You're gonna see a ton of these ones about. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 104 by the end. We're on episode 21 right now. About a guy who's just high IQ and what did Clary call it? The curse of the high IQ. It's going to go over the idea of being neurotypical, the concepts of intellectual yet idiot, the concept of humility from a red pill lens, the concept of entitlement from a red pill lens, which I find is very good because so many people think of entitlement the way the feminist types online do it. It's like, no man is entitled to this and you feel entitled to that. It's like they completely miss the point. So it's a good one. And then a brief touching on the laws of power, which if you guys don't know, that's one of those, it's like both the least important and most read pieces of like red pilled canon out there, you know? So I haven't really been chomping at the bit to get those out, but I figure we're here, so we're here. Let me pull up the things here. Yeah, this one's funny, and it's one of the occasional ones, so you see this a lot too. When guys are in the married red pill, like mostly it's married guys or guys in long-term relationships, asking about how do I fix this, how do I fix that, how do I fix the other thing. And then occasionally there's a single guy in there, and he's like, you know what, I like that vibe better. They think either the married guys are going to take it easier on them because people aren't in here, acting like a 20-year-old full of bravado or piss and vinegar, or somehow it's not as red pill, so they'll get less harsh advice. And they're usually in for a rude awakening because just because the cussing and the autism isn't here doesn't mean that you're not going to be told exactly what you don't want to hear, but probably need to hear. So I'm going to start recording. You guys know the deal. I'll engage the chat once it's done. And we'll hit all your questions at that point. So let me get started. Evening. Welcome to a Mids Watch. Hope you guys are enjoying this one. This one's a bit of a different one. It's actually a single guy, which is weird because the space has married in the title, married red pill. So if you're married, it's the kind of place to get your red pilled male action plan underway within a relationship. But a lot of guys, they're single and the demographics really don't work for them in the main red pilled subreddit. Obviously, it's a lot of bravado and just bro science and crap like that from a lot of people. So they think that for some reason, the older demographic is either going to be easier on them or kinder to them. And we're all running from the same playbook. The only difference is demographics and life position. So they usually get in for a pretty rude awakening. But this guy, the aptly named red-pilled grasshopper. So far, there's no thing that I've seen where guys name themselves after insects, which can tell you something about their field report, so I'll just get into it. He is asking, what law of power do I need to stop being vocal about reading people? And he's like, I have a trait, knowing exactly what somebody is thinking or about to think because I've been quite adept at reading body language and tonality. Read, only child, single mother. Now, could somebody point me to a place where I can start to harness that part of myself? And I'm aware of shutting the hell up, SDFU, which would help immensely, though I can't shut it down when people say things that are so blatantly ridiculous, self-serving, and manipulative. I think I've been in the anger phase pretty much the entirety of my life, and I've not come to peace with it yet. This one is kind of neat because it gives you a little insight into some of the people within the red pill. Like, obviously, in my own life, I've had that situation where I think I'm so much better than everybody because I was a smart kid growing up. They did all the gifted people testing and all that stuff. I think I was 3% shy of being the fancy gifted guy, so I'm like the smartest non-gifted guy out there. But that's the problem, is that it puts you in this state of laziness where you start attaching intelligence to your identity. And so if something comes easy, yeah, you'll do it. But as soon as something becomes difficult, and unless you're a brilliant genius, and even then, nothing is going to come instantly, perfectly every time. And so you end up just not doing things because your identity is more important. And it really takes a bit of humble pie. And the military gave that to me. I think I've told the story before where I had this great plan during cleaning stations. That's the part where the junior seamen go and scrub the toilets. And I was like, I could fix this and do this with the patch panel and save you guys a ton of work. And my boss just looked at me. It's like, no, it's 7. And ordinary seamen like you clean the fucking toilets. I don't care. And I was livid, so livid, but I couldn't do anything about it. And eventually he did probably the biggest favor of my life. Like, first off, I got really good at cleaning toilets, but then I kind of realized that intelligence is just a tool. It's not an identity, and it doesn't make you better than anybody. In fact, a lot of the times, looking back, it was like a lot of my failures were based on it. But Jack 10 of Hearts is going to hit on it here. Bit of a different angle because it also hits onto his life. But you'll see when I get into it. And he's like, you know what? I could have written a book about this stuff some 10 years ago. I thought I was a genius. Reading the Cialdini's influence books and other things like microexpressions and then studies on the birth order and a whole motherload of early 2000s pickup. Like, I pretty much acted like the smartest guy in the room at all times. And if you're one of those guys getting into pickup or the red pill and saying your friends are expressing concern that you've changed, it's possible those friends are plugged in blue pill losers doing the crabs in the bucket thing, or maybe you're just acting like an unbearable douchebag like I was. And it's been a while since I've brushed up on my 48 laws of power, but if you want some tips on how to stop acting like an unbearable douche, I still may be able to help you, so here it goes. So if you spent most of your formative years as a half-autistic social retard, then this skill you have is known as being neurotypical. Now, seriously, it's not some secret power. A lot of our initial social adeptness is probably some combination of genetics and socialization during our formative years. So if you're a half-autistic social retard in your younger years, that trait you're describing is probably just you overcoming that handicap to operate closer to a more neurotypical and well-socialized person. So if you want an analogy, imagine you were born as a paraplegic, but eventually you learned how to walk on crutches. And now you think you're a goddamn superhero because you have metal legs. And you're coming here asking, I can walk really fast. How do I stop bashing people in the shins with my metal legs? It's like, no, asshole, actually, you can't walk incredibly fast. You've just consciously learned how to overcome some combination of your introversion, social anxiety, and general inability to handle nonverbal social cues. But while that just means your crutches may enable you to walk just as fast for a non-handicapped person, you probably still have this awkward crutch-swinging, seesaw, staggering moment which you'll find stumbling into any and all bystanders. You still need a lot more work to do to actually walk as fast and look as natural as a non-handicapped person. Now, parsing nonverbal cues is easy to do if you're watching people behind a double secret-sided mirror. Telling a fun story is also very easy to do if you were recording yourself into a mic. Doing both is the actual challenge. Clearly, you're still struggling because you cannot parse nonverbal cues and regulate your responses. He brings up the part here where the guy's like, I can shut the hell up, which would help a lot, but I can't shut it down when people saying things so blatantly ridiculous and self-serving, it's manipulative. He's like, look, if you've detected a bullshitter, someone who's talking about something you think's exaggerated, inauthentic, or outright false, then you have just admitted you can't flip that Rolodex of social responses fast enough to get to something that will subtly disarm the bullshitter, or maybe egg him on more, or just concede to the bullshitter because it's not important enough to expose him. Your Rolodex spins so slowly that in the few seconds you have to respond to his bullshit, you can only flip to card 1, which is obnoxiously call him or her out and confirm your role as the conversational and social buzzkill with everybody you're with. The only other option you have is not to flip the Rolodex at all, which is to say nothing. And you literally describe this is what you do. I mean, I get it. You see some basic bitch running her mouth off about some basic bitch things, and your mind processes it like this. And he's got an image to it, which is like an old like cartoon where it's some girl walking up saying hi. And what the guy sees is like the Egyptian Sphinx with like past my challengers of social interaction. It's fairly cute for a 2000s meme anyway. He's like, yeah, and you're so pleased with yourself, you finally cracked the code, that you can now decipher these tests in your social interactions, and just like the metallic crutches, they're an improvement. Don't get me wrong. But to use, I suppose, the fourth analogy in this comment, crutches, Rolodexes, Sphinx challenges, you view your social life as a test, where the test questions are in French, and now that you've learned French, you can finally decipher the questions, and realize they are questions like, is the intended audience for Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 a man or a woman? And you're tempted to stand up and shout, ah, that's bullshit, The answer is completely subjective. Who cares about Shakespeare? And seriously, is Shakespeare gay now? Is this more gay liberal indoctrination? Yeah, look, this question is BS and the whole test is BS, and I feel it's really important that I make everybody here aware of that fact. Yeah, so don't do that. Don't do that. You have to confirm or conform to the bullshit coming out of everybody's mouth? No. No. But you know what? Your only option for a nonconformist behavior is not to yell at everybody really loudly about how nonconformist you are. So how about you write an essay about how the answer is both a man and a woman, but only because Sonnet 18 was actually intended for a transgender female otherkin, but that otherkin was actually a transgender male to female elven vampire, so by the transitive property, everything cancels out. This is a really weird reference, by the way, he's making here, but I get it. He's like making a mockery of the thing in his neurotypical way. But this is kind of like, it lets you know Jack was one of those guys, like those socially autistic guys who kind of learned how to be social by the numbers. So it's very interesting then, which gives him a rare insight using his metal crutches to break this stuff down. Anyways, back to it. So that'd be a funny essay, right? Your classmates would think it's funny, and then your teacher would be pissed until she sees your conclusion, where you explain how the essay wasn't intended to make a mockery of her in the test, but to demonstrate how you think Sonnet 18 is a love poem to somebody is missing the point, because it's actually about the fragile brevity of life, which is applicable to everybody, including but not limited to men, women, and, elven vampires. So your essay is both hilarious snark and cleverly insightful, and your teacher gives you an A. Now that she doesn't need to worry about, social justice warriors getting her fired. And this is the point for you guys, the audience here. Swallowing the red pill is not about realizing that the test is bullshit. It's about realizing that everything in life is an open-ended question, even if it looks like it only has multiple choice answers. Let that one sink in. Remember, it's not about realizing that everything is bullshit. It's about finding out that everything is an open-ended question. Like, if you want to watch a comedian that really represents this idea, check out Lewis Black. I mean, you look at it, it's just an angry, grumpy, ranting, this is fucked and bullshit and I hate everything, except for it's fucking funny, dude. Like, and believe it or not, the difference between Lewis Black and some edgelord, like Op here, who proudly declares, yeah, I'm an asshole, deal with it, is more than the t-shirt. Or to put it another way, I find it hilarious when red-pilled aware guys try to extend the dichotomy of alpha and beta with hilarious bullshit like sigma males. And this is why, whenever I read somebody on Married Red Pill saying, I consider myself more of a sigma than an alpha, I just read that as, I consider myself to be someone who has minimal social skills because of a limited ability to overcome my introversion. Sure, there's fictional characters portrayed as badass sigmas like Judd Nelson's Bender in The Breakfast Club or Guilfoyle on the TV show Silicon Valley, but they're fictional. And actually, now that I took a break to watch some clips, Bender's actually a whiny bitch, which actually explains why, if memory serves me right, the girl he ends up with is a sexually promiscuous, compulsive liar who gives him a hickey, makes him wear one of the earrings at the end of his movie, and will probably fuck Emilio Estevez next week anyway. So this whole, I don't give a fuck what people think about me, I just speak my mind, and if they have a problem with it, they can go fuck themselves, that's going to pay limited dividends. Especially because you probably just don't give a fuck by default, because as I mentioned earlier, your social intelligence is probably still too slow to respond with anything else anyway. Now contrast that with the comedian, with the Lewis Black, who represents this don't give a fuck, but clearly he must care because he's trying to sell tickets to his comedy shows. And that's why he's writing a hilarious essay on, elven vampires while you're back in detention for the next 7 Saturdays with a faded hickey on your neck. And this time you don't even have Anthony Michael Hall to write your essay for you. That's a lot of Breakfast Club references. It's something, and like I'm pausing on this one here, it's something important, and I wish I could get this thought through to a lot more guys. I don't know if you've been following it, but yeah, it's like, guys are socially stunted, man. And I know there's a lot of common like threads within the red pill, like it's a single mom, so they never had a chance to go play with friends because she was a helicopter parent, and that may be true, it may not be true. But guys are just socially retarded. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean like literally insufficiently socialized to be developed properly. And there's a lot of guys who develop the skill outside of like a neurotypical way. Like paint by numbers. A good example is Modern Life John, his body language mastery course. There's a guy who doesn't know how to read body language by like trusting his instincts and like learning it over time. He actually has to like in his head keep these ideas together. The problem is it makes it very hard for you to adapt to changes in your environment. Same reason why like somebody who's learning, for example, when I learned French as an adult, I never was able to think in French or dream in French, which is one of those like levels of comprehension. So I'm always having to listen to somebody talk and then translate it in my head. So I'll never be able to speak as fast as like a fast speaking French person. And that's just one of those things. And you can work around it. You can get really good at translating. But your failures always come out when these fast things come. So for a lot of these guys that think they're very intelligent, they can read people, they know all about hypergamy, they've read 3 Rollo articles, they know what they're doing. Just be aware. You're probably making yourself the most insufferable person in the room. And knowing about the rules of the game doesn't mean you're good at playing them. Like there is no excuse for just rock solid experience. And one of the biggest tells when you get a guy who's, as I jokingly call it, red pill aware, is that he loves to talk about the rules and his only response to things is to call it out with like a snarky teenager voice and add a huh, huh, huh at the end of it. And I'm sorry, if you can't think of 5,000 examples of it from like a limited time on Twitter or any red pill space, then I don't know what to tell you because it's common as fuck. Anyways, back to the field report here. Jack's like, look, man, if you're sort of irritated because some random guy just took a drive-by shit on you, like some internet tough guy, well, just remember in the beginning, I had the same problem years ago. And my friends brought me down several pegs using a lot of the same language that I just wrote here. Although he's taking credit for the elven vampires. And honestly, it wasn't even so much that I processed what they said, but I felt something that I hadn't felt in a while, which was humility. Humility. I didn't actually know all the answers because I sort of did care that I was gradually acting more and more socially repulsive. So I was finally honest with myself about that. And the reason why a modest amount of humility is so important is because once you've accepted you're not perfect, once you're accepting that you're not better than everybody else, that means there's nothing stopping you from trying to be perfect, which means you're lucky to be on this endless journey of self-improvement. And just think about that. However badass you are, it's always possible to be potentially more badass. Saying, I'm not perfect, becomes very optimistic. Because another way of saying I'll be close to perfect tomorrow than I am today, and then the next day and after that. And Jack would write more, but he's veering dangerously close into narcissism and self-righteous Matthew McConaughey optimism. So realize, for a lot of guys, your anger is fueled by entitlement. An idea that you deserve more than these idiots or these basic bitches or whomever else you supposedly read so easy. You consider yourself better than them, and yet they have the audacity to spew so much bullshit that they simply assume you'll accept. Where do they get the fucking nerve, right? Well, you're gonna show them. There's that revenge fantasy. I really need to do another video on this one, but it's on how revenge fantasies are like holding you back. Just for this one, take it as a leap of faith until you watch that video once I get it out. But as I'm sure you sort of logically comprehend, but haven't emotionally internalized, doesn't work that way. So this idea of humility is also powerful because beyond fueling a motivation for continuous improvement, it also ensures that you'll stop thinking you're entitled to everything. You're not entitled to shit. Why would you be? Why are you so much better than everybody else that what you've experienced was unfair? Like whatever led you to believe that, it was wrong. And it's okay. You can be frustrated for a while that you were told otherwise. You can get mad that you were told you're a unique and special snowflake if you took the multiple choice test and wrote CAB, DAD all the way down. And now you're here at the red pill being told, nope, it's not how it works. Think you fucked it up. You were all misled and you're angry. Sure, be angry. But you know what? That doesn't change anything. Being unfairly misled, you're still not entitled to anything. This is why so many cancer survivors, after an extended emotional roller coaster, always come out the other side as the most optimistic motherfuckers ever. He makes a reference to about some Ask Me Anything guy about a guy who's missing like 9 bones in his hand, his legs cut short, and he's like joining a rock band, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, so assuming your anger is fueled by things like a general resentment of being misled on gender roles, or the idea that your personal virtue would also be sexually attractive, Just learn to get over it. Is that really that hard for you too? And then he throws out some things. So he's like, all right, so laws of power, 12, 18, 21, 32, 38, and 44. Which, pulling those up here, law 12, use selective honesty to disarm your victim. Makes sense. It's kind of like a nice way of, shut the hell up unless you have something good to say. 18, isolation is dangerous. Just because you think you're better than everybody else, there's nothing good about isolating yourself because you think you're the king shit. 21, play a sucker to catch a sucker. Law 32, play to people's fantasies. Again, sometimes just taking an interest in people and making them think they're the most special person in the world plays up to their fantasy. They may be boring, but it's always better to have somebody who thinks well of you than somebody who thinks you're a prick. And then Law 38, which is probably the married red pill, absolute favorite one. It comes up all the time. Think as you like, but behave like others. And then Law 44, disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. Mirroring people, I mean, anybody here who's dealt with body language know about the mirroring thing. So that's the single guy's red pill journey, which I kind of enjoy it because this is a call out a lot of guys need. I think most functional adults at some point have been fed that humble pie when they think they're on top of the world and then somebody showed them what was up. And it's always somebody who they considered stupid that put them in their place too. And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of those guys anymore. Like there's no longer the drill instructor that shuts down your college educated nonsense, or a teacher who actually challenges you, a big brother who had no problem beating you up when you tried to prove how smart you were. Heck, even a dad to do whatever. Spank you when you start talking smart. Guys don't have role models anywhere, and so unfortunately you just have to learn it yourself. And the closest you're going to get to a father figure teaching you this lesson at this point is a girl calling you creepy, saying to get the hell away from her, and saying, no, I'm not going to touch your dick. So take that for what it's worth. Enjoy yourself on this one. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers. All right. Back to you guys. Where is the chat? Look at this one. Super busy. 70 of you guys in here. All right, so we're going to make this one quick. I know you guys got dinner coming up soon. I see True, Mids Watch, best thing on YouTube. I'm glad you like it. Like I said, I'm glad I'm doing the recordings of these things live because, I don't know, I never have to worry about not doing enough content for you guys. So I can record these things live, I can give them to Patreon, and then I can still create the proper edited and scripted videos, which I think, are way superior to this. Do I recognize myself in this? Yeah, I used to be that guy. I even talked about it in the book. I used to think I was the smartest guy in the world, and it was an identity in it. I left so many opportunities by the wayside just by pretending I was the smartest guy on earth. And that's the problem with a lot of smart guys, is that you're smart. Like, it's not a full-on lie. Like, you are smart. I'm sure there's, like, you took an IQ test and you're above 130. I think it's 135 is genius. Rolo and I talked about it once, too, where, like, I was, like, 135 and he was 138 or 140, something like that. I can't remember. But it's like, I don't know, after 110, it really doesn't matter. It just makes you less and less able to engage with other people. It kind of kills your sociability. So you kind of almost have to do the Homer Simpson thing, shove a crayon in your nose, stop being so proud, and then learn to live. Use your intelligence when it matters, like if your car breaks down so you know how to fix it. We got Alejandro. Former Gamma here. I can totally relate to the topic. Yeah. It's actually funny. If you guys don't know, Gamma males are essentially narcissistic personality disorder added to the socio-sexual hierarchy. All these names have come from Fox Day, the guy who wrote Social Justice Warriors Always Lie, which is a really good book. Yeah, but Sigmas. And it's something he actually flat out said in there too. I mean, it's kind of like a hokey reference thing, but it's how he broke it down. That most Gamma males think they're Sigmas. And all a Sigma is like, they use terms like renegade alpha or situational alpha. I mean, essentially, but they didn't mean it in the red pilled way, like alpha being sexual desire. They tried to mean it as like the leader of men shit. So if you're the coolest guy at the party that gets all the chicks, he would consider you alpha. But that's more of like tradcon stuff. Sigma is the guy who technically should be that guy, but he's from a completely different group, so nobody recognizes his seniority. I don't know. It's like I said, I don't find it too useful, but it always seems to come up, so it's good to just be aware of there's two differing definitions here. One of them is absolutely ridiculous, and the other one is the red pill one. So, and then John, how was the gym? It was good, dude. COVID has had where they're like limited, like only can have 5 people from your building in the gym. We have like 400 people here, right? Only 5 are allowed to go, and you're only allowed 3 visits a week. The thing was fully booked. I get down there, there's nobody in there. There's supposed to be 5 from my building, 5 from the other. There was me and one guy who left 10 minutes in. I'm like, who is booking all these things? Just a pain in the ass. But, I mean, it's free gym for me. I had my own gym for the entire day. They do need to give me another day, though. And then, true, reading the 48 Laws of Power. Yeah, it's good. The one thing I would suggest if you're reading the 48 Laws is to read it and then promptly forget it. Because in the kind of situations where those laws come up, it'll be, you want to recall. You don't want to remember or memorize. You want to be in a situation thinking, oh yeah, this kind of reminds me of Law 38. You know, think what you like, act like everybody else. This isn't Twitter. I'll rant about COVID and vaccines and shit on Twitter, but when I'm talking to my real life friends, I just act like a normie, right? Because there's no sense, because I see all these people now talking about how they've lost friends over stuff, and it's like, it's because you opened your stupid mouth. Didn't change anything. You just had to have people know. Yeah. Listening at 2 times speed, they read so slow, which is weird. I actually kind of prefer the slower reading. Like for me, it's an aesthetic thing. Like, you know, sometimes you want to just get through a book and you kind of skim and you read it as fast as you can. And there's other books where you visualize the book. And so you slow down, you read until you can almost like make it film as a movie in your head. I just find for audio, I actually prefer to listen to the cadence of the speech. It adds a certain comprehensive and aesthetic aspect to it I just really like. But if you can do it, fill your boots. Yeah. Yeah, I think I have a pretty good BS detector. A detector is one thing, but the point from this lesson is it's more than just being a detector. You got to know how do you react to it. There's actually a great post from the Red Pill where it was like stop spouting the rules and play the game. He was making a reference to a guy playing basketball and he keeps getting dunked on and keep mentioning, oh, his foot stepped over the line, or oh, he did that because he did this. And he was accurately able to explain why he's getting his ass kicked on the course, but he's like, why don't you just start playing basketball instead of sitting there talking about why you're getting dunked on, why you get those nuts on your chin. And it's that same thing, like focus on what you can do in these situations. And as much it is about relationships, like the assertive stuff, agree and amplify, fogging, amuse mastery, negative inquiry, pressure flips, those things work socially too. Like agree and amplify works wonderful. I was talking with Rob before, and it's funny because he was telling me this long story about something about how he doesn't like, long story, or he doesn't like to talk too much. And he's going through and it's like a minute in. I'm like, yeah, I can tell. But you see what I mean? That little like amused mastery or that little agree and amplify, it can sometimes diffuse a situation. For me, it was just taking the piss out of it. But like I said, it can work. Yeah, I listen to lots of podcasts, so I'm used to the high speed. Oh, that's good. Hey, Silver Bishop. Forgot what a Rolodex was. Had to look it up. Yeah, I sometimes forget. A lot of these Gen X guys, they're going to reference stuff that I know about, but you probably don't. If you guys don't know, a Rolodex was a little thing that held index cards. You used to flip it, and everybody's phone number would be in it in a big roll. Now it's just you're scrolling on your phone, but if I'm smart enough, what I'm going to start doing is de-Gen Xifying language and metaphors. Like the Breakfast Club reference probably lost a lot of you too. If you guys don't know, Bender was like the tough guy rebel in class. Too bad he doesn't post anymore. Yeah, he gave up in a while. He and his brother were going to start a company. Plus, he kind of got burnt out. Like, each one of these posts of his, that's like 5,000 word essay. And I hate to say it, but you can't be giving those out to just like random nobodies on the internet, because they're just it's pearls before swine. And you can only take so many people ignoring your advice until it starts to get to you. So it just kind of burned him out. But we got 300,000 words of stuff from him. And you're going to start noticing, after you listen to all these ones, you're going to notice a couple themes coming out of them. You're going to start noticing the repetitions and the rhythms there. And I think it'll give you a much better insight than any individual one, which is my way of saying watch all the episodes. Yeah, some Lewis Black fans. That's always good. Who's Bender? I only know the Futurama one. It's The Breakfast Club. It's an '80s movie. You can go look it up online. You'll see. There goes monetization. Yeah, well, probably. Awkward mispronunciation. Oh, hush you. I saw a super chat in here somewhere, but it just disappeared, and I don't. Oh, there it is. Collie G, thank you for the $5 super chat. Sigma is an alpha out of his jurisdiction. Yeah, so I don't find, like, first off, that's not red pilled. Like I said, I know exactly what you're talking about. Everybody thinks of Vox Day as like some red pilled thing. He's not. He never was. He's like a Catholic type, traditional, conservative, Deus Vult, those kind of guys. So they're part of like men online. And there's some red pilled concepts that have been taken from him, but him in particular, his alpha, beta, sigma, gamma distinctions, that's just some way out there trad cath shit. But that's generally what it's supposed to mean for them, is that they think of it as a hierarchy. Alpha is the coolest guy, like that top of the Pareto principle. The beta guy is like the best friend who gets sloppy seconds. Deltas were just like the average guy. Gammas are the antisocial retard, and then sigmas were an alpha from like a different group who kind of invades this one. But I mean, it's I the problem I have with those is they don't map well to anything. Other than if a guy is narcissistic personality disorder, calling him a gamma makes it clear, but you can just call him NPD. But calling people, but he makes them into identities, and that's the problem, is everybody latches onto the identities and they just screw everything up. And then instead of thinking of smart guy or high IQ as their identity, they think of alpha male as their identity. And if you want to know how that turns out, just go watch the latest beef in like the black man space with the fresh and fit thing. They're going on for I haven't seen this level of fucking harpingness and since I was seeing the MGTOW dictionary 8-hour podcast. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm not watching any of it, but they can't help but put like 500 of them in my feed because I watched one preach video. So yeah, Zenith, you're asking there, what kind of ways are there to subtly disarm bullshit? Yeah, it's the same thing. Green amplify, amuse mastery. Sometimes it's just a simple like, oh yeah, cool, tell me more, and you get them to keep talking and keep talking. You catch them contradicting themselves. Wait, I thought you just said it was this. Oh, it's the other one. Or other times you just kind of agree and you get like way too enthused about it so that the audience, like everybody you're talking to, knows you're not taking it seriously. But the other guy is so caught up in his lie that he like goes with it. Hey, buddy, you're making my nose itch. Why is that? But I mean, it's hard. I couldn't just explain it in a video. You'd have to put me in situations because for me, a lot of it was intuitive. But to be fair, a lot of the same assertiveness tools will work the other way too. Given the lighting, it looks like Dante has set off his Inferno in Ryan's room. Yeah, I went with full red for this one. There you go. Facts. What are we talking about here? Something to do with a Canadian who thinks he can speak French. Start Dolfray. Yeah, my French is horrible. Even my accent, it's like a weird cross between like West Coast Anglo and like Tskutsume, which is like super redneck. So it's like an unintelligible accent. I actually send emails and write better than I can speak, which everybody's confused why. That it's supposed to be the other way. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Kali, your lives are so grounded. They weren't always, man. Like I said, when I see drama popping off online, it's like, it takes me back to like my redneck childhood in my small bullshit logging town hooked up on coke. Let's see here. So is IQ really a measure of intelligence? It absolutely is, but that's not the point. It's the guys that think intelligence is the be-all and end-all. It's not the case. Like, if you're too intelligent, you may be really good at like figuring out very complex things, which are great. The problem is people run on an emotional wavelength too. So you're kind of losing that ability of sociability and you're trading it for an ability to understand abstract things. And it's like everything. There's a certain range where you're smart enough to figure things out, but not so smart that you can't talk to people. And once you get outside of that, it just screws the whole thing. And so when people talk about being high IQ as if it's a good thing, it's just, all I hear is like, I don't know how to talk to a human being. Yeah, to be sincere, I prefer the life format of the mids watch to the polished one. Well, that's good, though. I mean, we got both. If I'm not mistaken, Silver, aren't you in Patreon anyway? So you're going to get these. The only ones who don't get these ones are the normies. They get them for a couple days, and then I take them down. But that's good. It's like, I always try to find how can I bring more value to the guys in Patreon, and sometimes just this behind the scenes stuff from like a permanent level could be the one. Yeah, Sigma doesn't exist, man. Yeah, somebody, I'm with you. I don't think any of it exists, but like I understand the concepts that they're trying to get across here, so it's just a shorthand for the language. Like I'll occasionally even say the manosphere when all I'm talking about is dudes online, because the manosphere doesn't exist. Terms the giant cope. But see, that's exactly why I'm with you. Even though it describes something that I understand what they're trying to get at, and I understand the point of it, but if it's all it's going to be done is used as a gigantic coping strategy for guys who are too smart and under-socialized, then it's functionally useless to me, and I have no need for it. Yeah, and see, Andrew, you see the same thing. I work in medicine. Doctors, patients rate as the best aren't the high IQ ones, it's the socially savvy ones. Again, it's just a tool like anything else. If you just keep adding horsepower to your car, it's going to be the fastest car on the street. But if you think that's going to help you when you're commuting to and from work, I don't know what to tell you. Rich is not driving in traffic in his McLaren. I'll leave it at that. This time on the yard is restricted. All right. Some points about STFU. You see what I mean, though? Like, shut the fuck up is a great strategy. Because it's, if you don't know what else to do, it's like your go-to strategy. You won't win whatever engagement you're trying to win and whatever winning means, but you won't lose ground either. It's almost like a reset. So it's good. So just keep that in the back of your mind, guys. If you don't know what to say, saying nothing will never get you into trouble. And then process it after the fact, and then, next time it comes up, you'll be better. Yeah, Zenith, absolutely right. It needs to be applicable. Rip Red Pill Mike. I only watch Red Pill videos with felonies now. Oh, you did watch it. Good, good. All right, so I'm waiting for Canadian Roadhouse, his autobiography. Dude, I'll tell you this much, Mal. I don't know, man. If I'm doing a podcast, somebody breaks into my house, first things, I'm turning the podcast off because I don't want video evidence of anything that's coming up next. Secondly, I'm shoving a lampshade up somebody's ass. Thirdly, I'm giving my security team a blast of shit. I'm like, the whole reason you're down there so shit doesn't come to my door. Do your goddamn job. But now they're good people. I wouldn't expect it. And then Swerve, RP Gamer. Terms can be used situationally if you're consistent about it. Like here, let me put it this way. When it comes to the hierarchy, if you're sitting in a group of people and you feel the need to like, that's the alpha, that's a beta, that's a sigma, that's a delta, what do you do with that? Everybody I've ever seen who does anything with that, they pat themselves on the back of how they figured it all out. It's like the basketball reference. Yeah, he double dribbled and he broke that foul, but he did it outside of reach of the ref, and then he did a dunk, and that's why the nuts are on my chin. It's like, stop spouting the rules, man, and play the game. And I find this to be not so useful, other than to help bring like a guy who's too smart and socially underserviced with that language into a more socially savvy role. Same for that other guy. If he just stops thinking about how he's better than everybody else and how they're automatically reading things, and then just take it that one step further. What do you do with that knowledge? How do you apply that? You can tell me all day about your architecture, but if you can't build a building, it's useless. Just think about the building, think about a construction work. You'll do a lot better on it. And these guys, if their skills are as good as they say, it's going to pay dividends then, because then you're going to be able to make a lot faster decisions on the social stuff and be a lot more accurate than other people. But again, that's that secondary skill that you got to learn, how to apply what I'm able to learn. And as soon as you can get out of your head and actually practice things, that's why it's always do the work. It's never read the book. Remember that. Do the work. Anyways, that's all I get. Oh, here, Viking. Yeah, my mom was 137 IQ. My dad's a 146. They both wanted me not to let my smarts limit my ability to talk to other humans. Dude, smart parents, man. My dad, he kind of figured that out too. Like, he was gifted. The problem was he liked drinking and gambling too much. So he used it to try and like, he used it for a gambling career. Didn't work out so well. Got divorced, but I mean, thanks for the IQ gift, bud. On another note, the front of the Fresh and Fit is a kitchen. Sounds like a great place to do a cooking video. Yeah, it's on the list. We'll see. I just finished the closet renos, or my girl did. So we can finally move the closet back into the closet. We got it about half done right now. We're moving the rest. And then I'll actually have like a living space again and not just a giant walk-in closet with a sofa. But, oh, dinner's coming up soon. So I'm going to end this one on the last comment or two here. So one big lesson I've learned is that I'm not obligated to care about a lot of things I thought I was. Much of my social stress was thinking the wrong shit mattered. Dude, absolutely. And I'll even take this one step further. Worrying about how smart you are or being perfect is not how you get this done. That is a one-stop shop way to get neuroticism and anxiety in your life. Oh yeah, Viking too. My dad was a drunk, kicked him out when I was 19 so he can get help. Yeah. That's the problem, man. Smartest dogs are easy to train, and if he wanted to have a drinking problem, his intelligence is actually impeding his ability to get help, because he could probably justify it like you wouldn't believe. And so you have to gronk it. But anyways, good news for you guys. I checked my Amazon purchase, and the microphone is on its way. It should be here tonight. And if the cord and the parts all get here tonight, tomorrow's Minecraft stream will be with the new system, the new audio setup. So it should have a more like bassy, resonant tone to it. It should sound more radio friendly. You guys will love it. But thanks for sticking around. I'll catch you on the next one. Again, 93 concurrent viewers. Love all you guys. Don't forget to hit like. I've only got likes from half of you. Either I haven't sufficiently impressed the other half of you, or you guys just forgot to hit it. Either way, give it a smash anyway. We'll see what we can do about improving the quality. And I will catch you on the next one. Oh, okay, sorry. The mic I got, I'll end on that one. The mic I ended up getting was a, what do they call it? It's a 57. One sec. Shoot, that's the one. Shoot SMB 57? Assure. S-H-U-R-E. Assure SM57. You guys may recognize it as, like, you know, the microphones that are on mic stands with a little metal ball at the end? It's basically those. And it turns out the podcast one that everybody uses is called Assure SM7B. And they're almost identical. The only difference is the housing and the shape and the front cone. So I just got like a custom front comb on it so it doesn't look like I'm sitting here at a rock concert. And Ryan, if we end with something French, I'll like the vid. All right. I'll end with the very first sentence I ever learned to speak in French, because I never got any formal training. J'aimerais un café glacé avec 2 pommes sans sucre noisette, s'il te plaît. Cheers.